Howdy.
What's up, guys?
What's up, everyone?
What's going on, everybody? So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Bama dominating the Dawgs for at least a half. We're going to talk about some transitive properties. This one's going to be interesting. And then maybe a little bit about players redshirting in the middle of the season. Or going to the portal in the middle of the season. So make sure you comment so we can chat back, and we'll see you in a few.
All right.
What's up?
Awesome.
So
hanging out.
Yet another week of like, oh, this isn't going to be much.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the hits keep happening.
Oh yeah. This weekend was a lot of fun. I mean, again, solid college football just in general is a lot of fun, but it's just every week seems to find a way to slightly outdo the previous week.
Agreed.
Compared to last year, this season's already off to a way better start.
It is. It's all because Saban left.
True.
Saban leaves, and everybody thinks that they can do something now.
It's an even playing field now.
Right.
Slightly more even, You still got to deal with Kirby Smart and Sark because they're part of that Saban tree. So
kill the roots like the Bama fan did to Auburn's tree.
It's true. That's true. Oh man.
All right. So games of the week.
Yep, we're going to cover our games of this past week. I'll go first because mine just was boring. But Illinois at Penn State, I of course that I technically was right. They did cover the spread. So if you bet the under, you're good. That game ended up it looked really good during the first two drives, both Penn State's drive and Illinois' drive. You're like, oh man, both offenses are clicking. The defenses seem to be having some answers. It's a battle, but they're making their way down the field. And then Penn State adjusted literally Illinois' second drive and didn't allow Illinois to do anything for the rest of the game. So it just turned into a really boring game, 21-7 or something like that. So, that was my game.
A real offensive showcase there.
A real offensive showcase by both teams, So
I just don't know how you were able to pick a highlight, Michael.
I mean, yeah, there just wasn't one.
It was just the highlight was the video or the photo of the scoreboard afterwards.
Yeah, because the game was done.
Game's done. There's a score.
Oh, it's not. Okay, cool. Let's go.
Yep. I mean, I wasn't the only commentator that was calling for an upset either. And so, but it's just, Illinois just didn't have it in the tank, which is fine. Penn State just had a slightly better defense than expected. Their offense.
I actually wanted Illinois to upset them too, but it just seemed like it wasn't in play.
wasn't in the cards.
Wasn't in the cards. Yeah. Dennis, you had an interesting one. Your pick didn't pan out either, did it?
No, unfortunately not. I had Louisville actually being able to win, and honestly, within the first minute, I was like, the way the game started is like, hey, Notre Dame was receiving the ball, they muffed it basically at the opening kickoff. Louisville was able to score kind of basically immediately right after that. I was like, okay, great start. Notre Dame is already choking. Great. This is great. Like, let's continue this momentum. And then for the rest of the first half, it's just like Louisville was just like, we scored once. We're good. I mean, they ended up scoring a field goal before the half ended. But by first quarter, Notre Dame was up 21-7. I was like, what's up with all these turnovers going on by Louisville? Like, you were such a turnover-free team coming into this game and throughout the season to just the first quarter to just be down 21-7 to 21-10. I was just like, this is already giving me a headache. The fact that the game was also on Peacock also kind of annoyed me, to be honest.
Sure.
I was like, I had to go find a specific way to watch it. But no, I mean, like, after
whose login did you use?
I had to use my buddy Thompson's. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm like, hey, and he's like, go ahead.
There's a way to get free Peacock for 2 weeks. Did you know?
I'd probably
No,
end up forgetting. A lot of
literally, right now Instacart is running, and this is just a tip. Instacart right now is running a promo. If you get Instacart Plus, which requires nothing to sign up for, you get it free for 2 weeks. It also gives you a free Peacock subscription for 2 weeks. Hilarious.
That moment would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I posted it in the chat a couple weeks ago because I wanted to watch. I'm trying to remember who it was that I wanted to watch. It was, I think, Boise State or something like that. So one of those games, Oregon versus Boise State, I think is what it was. Was on Peacock.
That'd be a game I would want to watch. So, no, I mean,
but now you know.
Well, I gotta see if I have an Instacart account that I can be able to take advantage of. Then.
Oh no, just create a new one. Just link this to your you can just create new Google accounts and just do it that way. I'm not telling you,
but that is wrong.
Yeah, you should totally not take advantage of the fact that these billionaire corporations.
I always forget the password to my email, so I always have to create a new one anyway. So
just have to create a new one. That's all it is. Gmail's free. Everything's free.
Exactly. No, to go on with in the second half, though, Louisville actually seemed like they were like waking up, so that like they started actually running the ball more, being able to score. And at one point, as the game kind of finished up, 31-24, they had a specific chance in the fourth quarter. The last series that they had the ball, I think it was like just under 2 minutes left. Just like they had mental mistakes early on in the game, the mental mistake of they had, I think it was like 4th and 1 play. They ran it, got the first down. Only part is they got a delay of game. They hiked it literally probably a second or two, like past the 0, and the ref took a second to even like blow the whistle. And that game to 4th and 6, and that's when they could not make the 4th down. And I was just like, really? Like you were doing such a great second half, the complete opposite of the first half, but the same mental mistakes that got you in the first half is now what basically lost you the entire game. So Notre Dame was able to escape. Riley Leonard played a little better, but I'm still kind of skeptical on him and the fact that I'm not even surprised. I'm surprised they won with him getting less than 200 yards passing.
Yeah.
So that overall, I'm kind of surprised. Even as a team, they didn't rush too well. But hey, I mean, it's unfortunate, but I saw Louisville lose, man. I'm a big fan for them.
Yeah,
I was too last year.
It's because you listen to me, so you see what happens.
I mean,
something like that.
Well, before we get to Luke's game, there was one really big upset that we have to talk about just quickly. But that was a particular blue team north of Tennessee made another blue team look like frauds.
Who did Michigan play?
No.
Isn't Utah red?
No. Kentucky went to Ole Miss and took down one of the supposed top teams of the SEC. I mean,
just punched him in the face time and time again,
over and over again.
It's been a wild game.
Even Lane Kiffin in his post-game interview said, like, Mark Stoops ran a play that he never has run in his entire career at the end where he made that bomb. So he didn't know to defend against something like that. I'm like, well, I mean, I get it. You're an analytics guy. You're a stats guy, Lane Kiffin. But at the same time, your defense needs to be good enough to deal with the weird one-off plays.
If you're doing what you're supposed to, and you're playing in the position that you're supposed to, you don't have to worry about that. That's just a lack of discipline. Somebody not hitting their coverage, somebody cheating in, trying to stop something else. And if they're disciplined and they're doing what they're supposed to, it doesn't matter if he runs a play he's never run.
Yep.
But it is Lane Kiffin.
True. And Kentucky proved that if you put any amount of semblance of pressure on Ole Miss, they crumble like, I mean, I don't know, some kind of
like a crumb cake.
It's like Ole Miss. It's old. It's fragile. Like any old team, they're gonna break.
Well, like they missed their victory.
They're old and they miss. What can you say?
So, but let's go on to our the biggest game of the week that Luke picked. I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, so obviously Alabama, Georgia. I think everybody watched it. The ratings were through the roof.
Sure.
No,
Everybody was watching Colorado, dude. Come on, man.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
They kicked butt. I'm not gonna lie. I was surprised how much they won.
I would.
UCF, but anyways,
they keep receipts, so I'd like to see the receipt on how many people were watching them versus Alabama, Georgia. But anyway, obviously you look at that first half. Alabama goes into halftime 30-7, and it was kind of weird. Like it really was just kind of this like, okay, Georgia's done. I contemplated not watching the second half because I just, even in our chat, I was just like, well, the game's over. We're done. Like nothing's gonna happen. And then to their credit, Georgia came in. I think Kirby called a really good game, or at least in the second half. Didn't quite get there, obviously, but Georgia came back, made some big plays. The final, what was it? The final like 4 minutes that was like back and forth, long touchdown after long touchdown. Alabama, what's that kid Williams? What's that receiver's name?
Ryan Williams.
Ryan Williams comes out, has one of the best catch and runs of the year, if not the best at this point. He finishes like averaging 30 yards a catch with 177 yards. Just amazing.
How old is he?
He's 17.
Oh, yeah. No,
yeah.
It's the joke. Like everybody.
Oh, is it?
The fact that it always gets said, like Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old wide receiver.
No.
It's like
sorry.
I'm old. I don't get these jokes.
I didn't spend much time on Twitter this weekend, obviously.
I did not.
Asking that question. How old is he again?
Well, and we should have a little conversation here because we've got two of the top teams, Georgia and Ohio State, with freshman phenom receivers.
The funny thing is, too, what he did on his Twitter is the fact that he actually put a picture of Michael Vick as his profile pic.
Oh, yeah.
And if anybody knows who Michael Vick is, knows why he left the NFL for a couple of years. The fact that he was holding a dog in the I think he only did it like overnight or like just for a couple hours before he took it down. But I was like, this kid is ruthless. I love it though. He's and I want to back it up.
I want to get to another thing that I saw a Georgia fan do. Well, we'll go ahead and go into it. So I saw a Georgia fan. Who was the Alabama player that had the
Ryan Williams?
Was it Ryan Williams? Okay, that said kill everyone.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know, that goes back to the program back in the 90s, which is a movie that would not get made today. Like you would not see that movie. But I saw a Georgia fan who said something about, kill everyone. It's like, this is just ridiculous. I can't believe they'd let him play like that. They need to do this and that. And it's like, okay, go tell your guys to stop driving the way that they're driving. Then you can talk to a guy about his eye black, like but it's just one of those things like so people got mad at Tim Tebow for having prayer, or scripture verses on his eyes. And now it's like the total opposite. Georgia fans, you're looking for something to take this away. He's one of the best receivers in the country. And just because he made a reference to killing everyone, he killed him on the field. He's not literally out there murdering people. So
it's funny too, like you're about to say, like that arguably two of the best receivers in college football right now are both freshmen. You've got Ryan Williams and what's his name from
JJ Smith.
JJ Smith. So some of the catches that I saw him make against Michigan State last week were just insane.
And the thing that I like about both of them, before I get into the rest of the Georgia, Alabama, the thing I like about both of these kids is they both come in, they work. And that's the thing that their coaches say about them. They come in, they're the ones that are working the hardest. But not only that, they're just the kind of like quiet, like, they don't want to do anything besides come in and work and do the work and be as good as they can be and come in. JJ Smith was making those catches and then just kind of walking off the field. And this is what I do. And I like that. I like that about both of them. They're both great. I see all these people like, who's the best? Who cares? Let's just enjoy both of them. It kind of goes back to, watching Magic Johnson and Larry Bird play against each other. And it's like, who cares who you think's the best? It's just fun.
Mhm.
Let's just watch him and enjoy him.
The only unfortunate thing is with Jeremiah Smith is that he's 18. That's it.
Yeah.
Ryan Williams 17, man. You got to give it to him.
Man, screw you, JJ Smith, for being born too early.
You got to win the race. You won the race too early, my guy.
Right. It's like, man, if his parents had just waited a few more months, then he would be right there with them.
So incredibly annoying. But the rest of that
keep
game,
it in your pants, man.
Yeah, the rest of that Georgia Bama game, Georgia definitely made proper adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
But
now I think what looking at it, because that's, I told you guys one of the big things that I was looking forward to this was kind of seeing what these teams are like when they play a big name team. So as an Ohio State fan, I want to know what's going on. And I learned a lot. I mean, I think I learned that Georgia, if you hit them hard, you hit them fast, and you keep that pressure on, Beck is going to make mistakes. He threw two of the worst. He threw 3 interceptions for the game. 2 of them were horrible. I mean, just not seeing defenders, not seeing the defense, not seeing, where they were going. Just bad throws. And with Bama, if you can stop Milroe and actually tackle him and not let him beat you with his feet, I think you're going to have a time and you're going to be able to get to him. He is as strong as of a thrower as he is. He's not going to beat you with just his arm. He has to use his leg to pick up some of those first downs and really kind of wear the defense down and beat them down. So that,
like to your point, I think it was like literally you could see the effect of DeBoer, and just from 1 year, Milroe from last year to this year, where passing was definitely not a key point in his game, to now be like, hey, nope, like you definitely got to watch out for it. You can't overlook it for even one play. Because like, hey, this was a great game on his part.
He still has issues over the middle, and some of the shorter range passes. He's been good at the long ball, but he's gotten better. He's definitely improved his accuracy. His athleticism has definitely gotten a lot better since last year. Has definitely improved. And so I understand the people that are putting him towards the top of the Heisman list right now, far more than I did understand last year. Last year he had a bunch of.
I think he just had a great moment at Auburn and just happened to be towards the end of the year, and him being at Auburn.
Yeah, well, he can thank Seth McLaughlin for that one.
Sure, it's true.
A high snap set him up for.
That's
right. That's right. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like there's I know I've seen some analysts that have said that Bama really didn't take their foot off the gas defensively, like some people assume they did in that game in the second half.
Yes.
And which lends to the concept of Kirby Smart making proper adjustments offensively. But obviously Mike Bobo has some problems, doesn't understand that he was playing against a defense that can't protect against the run. And so instead of running it, they were trying to pass it all over an arguably elite secondary.
Very young too, from what I've seen. They said a lot of the secondary or defense in general for Bama is also underclassmen. So like, although they're great, it's that experience that can get you if you don't play the full game all the time.
Yeah. But you could tell offensively, Bama definitely took their foot off the gas in that second half. And when they needed to turn it back on, they did. But it was like we were talking about in the chat, that is not something you would see Saban do. No. You don't see Saban get a death grip and just go limp in the second half.
Right.
But that is something that DeBoer has done. And DeBoer is going to learn real fast. And because he's got some games coming up where he's going to be dealing with better offenses than what Georgia has. Because that's the thing is Georgia just doesn't have the targets that they had last year.
Right.
They don't know who their running back is because ETN is not the guy. And they really haven't figured out. I know. They paid so much money for him to come from Florida.
12 carries for 55 yards is not enough for you. What do you expect?
For real. But there's also there's no real receiver that they have that they can just be like, he's a Lad McConkey, he's a Brock Bowers. We've got those guys that can just make the play happen. Like it's, we alluded a little bit to the Colorado UCF game that also happened on Saturday, which was a great win for Colorado, probably the best win he has in his tenure at Colorado. But I think we've talked about this. If you remove Travis Hunter from that team, Shedeur Sanders does not look like a good quarterback.
No.
The reason he looks as good as he does is he's got a wide receiver that is willing to sacrifice his body to get that ball.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'll give it to him. There's another receiver on their team, Horn, Joe Horn's son, I think is what it is. Who's really good. Like he's coming along nicely. But yes, but all that to say, Travis Hunter kind of makes that team.
Yep.
That team is not anywhere near what they are without Travis Hunter.
Yep. And
no, I mean, and through that as well, like Travis Hunter, how good he is. When I hear people talk about him Heisman, I'm like, and if Colorado say goes 500 or anything less, I'm like, I wouldn't even be mad if they still talk about him to be a candidate because I'm like, he's that good. You just kind of have to respect it.
I agree, and I mean, there's other commentators that have said that. I think even Matt Be Great said that last week. He's like the problem is he's getting overlooked because of the record, and which I understand. But right now they're 4-1, so it's not like their record's terrible. The unfortunate thing is they're about to actually hit all of their tough teams.
Like last year they hit a game losing streak, so
yeah,
we're right at the same spot
at the same time.
So who knows? They may get to a bowl game this year, or they may just consistently fall short. Either way, the likelihood of Prime being there next year not very high. So, but all that to say, I would say if you were Luke, you were trying to decide or determine and see what potentially Ohio State may have to face in the coming months from two of the top teams in the SEC. You found out that both of them are beatable.
Yes. Well, and to be fair, even as an Ohio State fan, I love my team. I think they're one of the best, obviously one of the best teams there. We're going to find out the next 2 weeks, really the next like 3 or 4, what Ohio State's about. We've got Iowa coming in who has a great defense. I'm not worried about them just because, their defense is great. Their offense we'll see. And then we go to Oregon and we play at Autzen, and that's going to be a crazy, crazy game. And so, I'm not going to make any predictions. Like you said, they're both beatable. And we'll see where Ohio State is really in a couple of weeks. And then maybe I'll start making some predictions.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, even Texas looked a little beatable this weekend, considering the fact, granted, I get it, Ewers was still out, but I mean, they're playing the worst team in the SEC, Mississippi State, who has a starting freshman quarterback, just because their actual starting quarterbacks out for the year. And
there's another. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say they kept it close for 3 quarters, which is
there was another starting freshman who played.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And also a nice little blown lead by Auburn.
Oh yeah, Auburn learned real fast what Sooner Magic was. Obviously exists in the SEC too. So.
Yep, it was a horrible interception there to end the game.
Or if you're an OU fan, it was beautiful.
Or it was beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it depends on looking at it from the 30,000 foot view. You look down and just go, "Why'd you throw that?" Like he looked like Will Levis out there throwing the ball to whoever he wanted to. Sorry, Dennis, I had to throw that out there.
Like by all means, I'm already looking forward to who we're going to draft next year.
No, just stick with Mason Rudolph the rest of the year. But hey, I've heard that Shedeur might be coming to Tennessee. So,
I mean,
yeah,
I feel for you guys. I'm not
I wouldn't allow it.
And Michael's like, he's getting out of Colorado. I'm good.
I don't care. I don't think Prime would allow it.
But yeah, but in the freshman, I can't remember the Oklahoma quarterback's name. He looked really good though, and I think that.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
It's Hawkins. Yeah.
Hawkins. Yeah. And so he looked really good. I think that Oklahoma's got a guy who's going to, he's going to have some issues this year, maybe into next year, but I think he's going to end up being really good for him. So,
well, and here's one of the biggest asterisks for that game is that not only did he play tough, because he played tough against Tennessee in the final half, but he also was out his top 5 receivers. They were out 5 receivers. So
I did not know that.
Yeah. Oklahoma, all 5 of their top receivers were on the injured reserve list or whatever. They're out. They're labeled out. And
Give them even more credit now.
yeah. So like there's a very good chance that once he has his targets, he actually might be even better.
First string weapons,
Right.
or second string at the very least.
Yeah. And so I got to give him more props than that. I also OU's defense just continues to show that they're an elite force. Like their offense might not be elite, may only be scratching or sniffing good. They're not good yet, but they're mid right now. But their defense is elite and will keep them in pretty much every game going forward. So anyways, let's get into some transitive properties. We
needed some intro to transitive properties.
It's our new game that we're going to play. We're not going to do it every week, but it is sometimes fun to do because transitive properties don't work in college football, even though.
Or do they?
Because at this point, maybe they would. I'm going to let Luke start off with one of his because he's got 2. I don't know if Dennis has got any, but I've got one too. Yeah. I'll let Luke go.
I've actually got 3.
Oh, you've got 3.
I forgot about one.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna move to the Miami game.
Ooh.
So Miami, who was at home, almost lost to Virginia Tech. They beat Virginia Tech by 4 points. Another team that beat Virginia Tech was Vanderbilt, who beat them by 7 points at home. So the question is, since Miami is the best team in the ACC currently, would Vanderbilt be running the ACC if they were in the ACC?
Based on
based on transitive properties, Vanderbilt would be the best team in the ACC.
That makes sense.
Just how it is.
There's no logical fallacy there whatsoever. I'll tell you my transitive property has defined the most powerful team in the SEC. Can you guess?
Okay.
So this team went to Kentucky and beat them by nearly 30 points.
Okay.
And Georgia went to Kentucky and only could beat them by 1 point. Kentucky then goes to Ole Miss and beats them at Ole Miss. Beats Ole Miss at home, and so one of the top teams there. So you've got all these different top teams that are struggling with Kentucky, but this other team didn't struggle one bit, and that's South Carolina, the best team in the SEC,
best team in the SEC.
Team in the SEC. We're not going to talk about the fact that LSU won that game. We know that the refs won that game for LSU. We all know that, just like the refs won the game for Miami this past weekend. But it does stand to reason that Georgia, who was the top dog, arguably one of the top dogs, has been for the past 5 years in the SEC, struggled against an opponent that South Carolina blew out. Just tells me exactly what I need to know about South Carolina, that they're an unbeatable elite force.
Yep.
Unless the refs get involved.
So I'm going to stay for my second one. I'm going to stay in the ACC.
Okay.
So now here's the thing. Florida State, right? They're having a pretty down year. So Florida State lost to Boston College at the beginning of the year, 28-13.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Okay. So, 2 touchdowns plus 1. They lost to BC. BC then beat Western Kentucky by 1 point. So with that being said, Western Kentucky also would be better than Florida State. Western Kentucky is a better team, of course.
Kentucky, the state of Kentucky is ruling college football, is what you're saying.
They are ruling college football right now. Between Western Kentucky.
If you don't include South Carolina, like as I said, the state, then Kentucky is a place to play football. Is what I'm
that is go to Kentucky, guys. Go to Kentucky.
True.
So
can't go wrong with any part of Kentucky.
Nope, bluegrass, baby, bluegrass.
That's right, bourbon.
So My last that's better than bluegrass. So maybe a little banjo playing while you're sipping some bourbon. I don't know.
That's right.
Okay, so my last one
Mhm.
is going to go. We're going to go to Fresno State.
Okay.
So Fresno State gave Michigan a game, right?
Mhm.
They went out there, played really tough against Michigan. Then they go to UNLV,
Mhm.
where UNLV was playing with their backup quarterback because their quarterback had decided to redshirt. Whatever is going on with
We'll get
him,
into that in the next segment.
which we'll go to that next. And then UNLV boat races Fresno State. So again, transitive property here. UNLV is better than Michigan.
Yep. Let's give UNLV the national title contender for this year. I mean, at this point,
they would put them in there, put them in the playoff.
Arguably they probably will be. I mean, legitimately, they probably actually will be.
They could be.
I mean, they got a good game this weekend. Or I mean, on Friday they're playing Syracuse. So
yeah.
Well, I forgot about that.
They've had a tougher schedule than Boise State. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like, from a standpoint of the amount of Power 4 teams they're playing in comparison, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up leapfrogging Boise State, and rightfully they should.
They should,
especially if they keep this undefeated season up. Yeah. I mean, the transitive property exists, guys.
It does. It's a real thing. It's legitimate. Anybody who wants to say that it doesn't make sense or doesn't belong in college
football, you hear it on the internet and see it on the internet, it must be true. I've always been told that.
We do not count as the internet.
I mean, this is streaming on the internet, right. but we're in real life.
I'm not the internet. I'm Neo, baby. I'm Neo.
Anyway, so you alluded to UNLV's quarterback, their starter redshirting. For whatever reason, like, again, we've heard all the different supposed excuses or reasons or whatever it may be. My personal opinion, from what I've heard from other sources, is that he is holding out for more money because he believes he's now worth more money because he led them to such and such victories, which their game against Fresno State this past week proves that it wasn't just him.
Right.
It's the entire team working as a team, which is amazing how that works. But just the past
team sports,
there is no I in team.
Nope.
There is a me, though. Me is in team.
True. Exactly. But there've been multiple different players, and there's actually another one off of UNLV that also that has redshirted, and they're entering the transfer portal, which is weird because the transfer portal is not active right now. So, it's one of those things, like, I know that this is just an unfortunate side effect of NIL, and are not just NIL, but also of the transfer portal. But what do you guys think is something that needs to be addressed? Like, what do you think is how it should be addressed, essentially, to, like, keep these players from doing stuff like this mid-season?
Contracts.
Sure.
I mean, I think that's the only thing that you're going to have that's going to keep this from happening, is actually signing a contract. When you look back at this UNLV quarterback, essentially it's a he said, she said situation where he's saying that he was promised something by somebody. I think they said like an assistant coach or something. And that he came in and, in good faith, kind of let stuff happen and was playing and never received it and was only getting like $3,000 a month. And then, you look at that, and I mean, like, let's be honest, if that was true, if that is what happened, I get it. If you're promised money and you don't get it, like, I get you. Then it comes out that, oh no, we never said that. This was never a thing. So, if you have a signed contract where you say, hey, here is my signature and your signature on this piece of paper that spells out exactly what we need, then there you go. I think that these contracts, these NIL contracts, it's almost like, in the NFL, they get game checks. Like, you don't get paid for practicing. You don't get paid for following the rules. You play a game, here's your check, and it's kind of that, like, now if you're hurt, That's fine. That goes on, but it's contracts. That's the only way this is going to happen, because every issue that we're having with NIL is going back to this. I want more money, or my valuation's changed, and I'm not getting playing time, so I'm gonna, redshirt. It just doesn't make sense, and it's not good. It's not good for college football. It's not good for the fans. It's not good for the team. And honestly, I don't think it's good for the players either, because you're sitting here and we have these situations where a fourth string running back is going, I'm not getting enough playing time. It's like, well, you're fourth string running back. Who cares? Like, of course you're not getting playing time because you're fourth string. Go out there and do something. And once you do something and you prove yourself, then you'll move up and you'll get more playing time. But we have a bunch of people, like all these kids who are, instead of actually putting the work in, and again, I don't know these, the kids, and I don't know the situations and exactly what's going on, but it would be very easy to see them not putting the work in or not being the best on their team. And then all of a sudden them going, okay, well then I'm just going to take my ball and go somewhere else.
Sure.
Contracts.
Yep.
I mean, I would actually be on board with something like that. No, I mean, we've all said in the chat, I think it could be kind of agreed. Not even, I feel like people even outside of us would say, like, being able to redshirt yourself in the middle of a season, like, what the, like, when was that ever a thing? Whatever. I didn't know it was a thing until literally just started happening. Less than 2 weeks ago. Yep. I was like, that was even possible. I was like, we already treat transfer portal as a free agency. Are we really going to treat it as a free agency, or even like, a transfer, swap during the season? I'm like, might as well call it, be a trade. But
yeah, but they can't do anything until the transfer portal. Like, exactly. So it's like they're, yeah. So they're just sitting here.
It just, I feel like it just kind of kills the game, where it's like, yeah, you're going to get paid. There's a good chance you're not going to make it to NFL. So you're just trying to secure, trying to secure the bag. You're just trying to get your money while you can. But like, if you're not willing to kind of like, to basically kind of, if you're a junior, sophomore, freshman, if you're not willing to kind of work through the depth chart and just kind of see where you're at, get off the field. Like, you shouldn't even be on the field then to compete, because obviously you're not competitive then. Like, you're not there for competitive. You're not there for the love of the game, because otherwise you would be on the field.
Sure.
There's another person who redshirted and put in a transfer, is a guy from Indiana. I get it. Coach Siggs brought a lot of people for GMU to become his receiving core, and the dude was like a first string receiver. I think caught like close to 50 passes last year. I'm forgetting his name right now. And already this season, I think he's only had 2 catches. Sure. And he's like number 9 or 10 in just the stats in terms of. So I'm like, I get it in that kind of situation where you didn't think you were going to have this much of a drop off, but
a coaching change. Yeah.
But to be able to have this much of have it done in mid season, unless you ask like your coaches, like, hey, it's cool. Then you're like, okay, cool. We understand. You didn't know, by all means. But to be a starter and be like, hey, I need to get my money to get my value. I'll just ask like, hey, if week 9 rolls around or week 8 rolls around and you're Cam Rising and you're hurt for the rest of the year again, does your NIL money also drop?
Sure.
Like the $100,000 that we paid you should now be what, 12,000? Like, is that going to be the trade-off now? Like, you want to be protected, so does the school. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, and there's not enough stuff being talked about from a standpoint of, it's like, again, I am someone who, because of the current structure of college football, where a lot of it's based on, tons of money floating around. You've got a lot of green stuff like that between big corporations and big universities, stuff like that. I am okay with a kid, a 20-year-old getting a piece of that pie, essentially. And if there's anybody that I would prefer to have a piece of that pie, it's the kid, because they're part of the product. They're part of what makes it entertaining and everything like that. But at the same time, there needs to be something culturally that is a conversation there, where it's just like, you also just don't need to give up on your team. They're still your team. Like, I get it if you're like, you know what, I am going to go and transfer out at the end of the year. Okay, well then just transfer out at the end of the year. Don't basically transfer out in the middle of the season and just hurt the morale of your team just because of the fact that you're throwing a fit because of the fact that you didn't get the bag that you believe you're owed. It's like, okay, there's like, just like what you were talking about, Dennis, there's a lack of competition. There's a lack of competitiveness. There's also a lack of just teamwork. There's a lack of this mentality of, no, they're my brothers. I'm going into battle with my brothers. And, and that may change next year, but right now that hasn't changed. Even if I don't see playing time, it's like that hasn't changed. And because again, if you don't end up seeing playing time, you're not going to lose your redshirt status because you can just redshirt at the end of the year. If you don't end up playing in more than 4 games, then you can still redshirt at the end of the year. So, and bowl games don't count. It's just interesting to me. I think that there was an overcorrection to the NIL stuff where it was like, no, you can't do any of this, to now anything is free.
Right.
And it's like, no, we need to settle back into something that gives these players a portion of the pie that is of this giant media conglomerate that has been, built over the past 40 years, but at the same time also still make it about the spirit of the game. So
yeah.
Anyways, let's go into our game of the week for this upcoming week for good old week 6.
Yeah.
See, we're halfway through the season.
It's
but
crazy
because we have a longer extended playoff.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to think about.
Yay. It is
awesome. I love it.
It is.
So yeah, do we want to go by just when they're airing the time when our games of the game of the week are airing, or
I'll go first. I don't mind going first.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got Florida State versus Clemson.
I like how you were slow to that because that could have been the Florida game itself.
I know. I was like,
Woo!
I think, and I think this one is, they've already, I think, ruled out DJU, which is just a weird situation with his injury and playing and not playing, and he's hurt and he's not hurt. I don't know.
Ain't gonna affect the outcome.
But I think I'm interested. Yeah, it's not going to affect the outcome. I'm interested to see how Florida State's backup is going to do. Sure. Just kind of giving him a chance, kind of just putting him out there, and let's see. Also, Cade Klubnik is having a much better year than I expected from him. Clemson is doing well. Obviously, that loss to Georgia at the beginning of the year kind of sent some shockwaves. You kind of expected that that was gonna just kind of kill their season, and they didn't let it, which let's be honest, that's good for them. Like, good for them mentally to be able to go put a whooping on NC State. Did they beat NC State worse than Tennessee beat them? They beat them by 20. They beat them by 24.
Tennessee beat them by 41.
Okay, so no. Never mind. I guess I just wasn't thinking about that game.
NC State put more points on Clemson than Georgia put on Clemson.
Oh yeah, by what? So NC State's better than NC State's better than Georgia. But I just think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be an interesting game.
Sure.
And I also didn't want to pick Ohio State, Iowa, because
I mean, I get it.
I got to not be a homer sometimes.
Yeah, you got a big game coming up. So
next week, everybody knows. Everybody knows what it is. But this week, Florida State, Clemson. I think Florida, like ESPN, has their matchup predictor as Clemson 80%, which I think is a little low. I think that should be more in the 90s, if not like 95. So that's kind of my thought.
I forgot that we got this. I already had this pulled up. I don't know why.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank
you. But yes, there it is. Yeah, I agree. I'm crazy. It's crazy that they're giving Florida State a 20. It's probably because it's at home. They're playing.
That probably is.
Yeah. So
and we'll see what the field's like. I'm interested to see how many fans show up.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
it's probably mostly Clemson fans. Let's be realistic.
I feel like FSU fans will probably show up to this one because like, oh great, DJU is not playing, so we're probably going to throw a pass past 5 yards or past 1 yard at this point.
He's going to average more than negative 0.1 yards a pass.
Exactly. Yeah. So I feel like it's a little bit of a fresh start for them.
Basically, you can improve. There's nowhere else to go but up. So
exactly.
And what is it? It's Clemson minus 14.5. So more than 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's more than 2 touchdowns at like away.
Yeah,
that's crazy to me. But I think it's pretty accurate.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. I think it's pretty accurate too. So my game of the week is the first home game, our first away game for this particular team. Mizzou.
How long has it been? First away game?
First away game.
In 5 games, 6 games?
Yeah, technically, I mean, I guess the bowl game is an away game. But yeah, Mizzou is going to Texas A&M. Yeah. Crazy enough. Like that's a crazy, it's going to be an awesome game. But I think the betting lines, let me just pull it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure the betting lines, they have Texas A&M actually favored. Now the match predictor says that they're not. I think that here's the thing. If you guys haven't caught on yet, ESPN's FPI is complete garbage. It just bounces around all the time with its matchup predictor. It's never accurate. In the sense of it's just as accurate as us calling a game. And the difference is that it's never wrong because it always just fluctuates after every play. But Vegas, on the other hand, is pretty keen in the fact that you got Texas A&M. Yeah, we got Texas A&M, who has also rebounded from arguably bad loss at the beginning of the season against a decent Notre Dame team. And
a Notre Dame team.
A Notre Dame team.
Yeah.
A non-elite Notre Dame team.
Right.
I just want to rile them up a little bit. But Texas A&M has not pulled punches. They beat Arkansas in Arlington this past weekend. Arkansas is no slouch of an opponent. They went to Florida and whooped Florida, which again doesn't say too much because we know Florida is not phenomenal, but Florida, it was still at Florida, which is a big deal, So Texas A&M, I know is going to be, it's going to be loud there. Super loud in College Station.
Yep.
And I think Missouri, who has barely won against Vanderbilt, barely won against Boston College, and they didn't really look overly impressive against the FCS teams they played earlier this year. They were like, people like to say, oh, well, they beat them without letting them get a touchdown or any kind of score. Okay, that's really still not impressive. Like, your defense, we knew was good. We're not saying it was going to be bad. Your offense is the issue, because your offense, your defense may have had its starters pulled in the second quarter, but your offense didn't have a lot of their starters pulled until the third or fourth quarter, and they were having trouble scoring.
Let's be honest. I'm pretty sure Vanderbilt missed like 2 or 3 field goals in that game that would have won the game for them. So,
I wish Vanderbilt would have won. Honestly, like they were so close to being ranked early in the season that I'm like, if they get even ranked one time, even just for 1 week.
Hey, listen,
I would have loved that.
Listen, Bama has to go play Vandy at Vandy this weekend. Ooh. So, this is going to be, I was reading an article earlier today that said this is going to be the smallest in-conference game that Bama has attended in almost 50 years because of the construction going on at Vandy.
It's been going on for like the past 3 years in that stadium. The stadium is not big.
No.
So I don't know what they could possibly be doing for this long.
Listen, they're just making sure it is a prime stadium for collegiate sports. That's what
it's going to be outdated by the time it's done.
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick. Did they bring in him? Man, that'd be crazy.
They brought him in.
They brought in Butch Jones to be the
And
general contractor.
and I'm also going to say the fact that Missouri still has the Ohio State win up here in the bowl, that's just wrong. That should go away. That's last year. That's last year. We're not talking about that.
I mean, but that's the thing. They've only played 4 games. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, I know.
Tennessee's game still. It's just the last 5 games. Tennessee still shows Iowa.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, I mean, I think Missouri is about to have a massive wake up call. This is the hardest defense they're going to play against so far this year, and their offense is not clicking. They've had a bye week, so they might have maybe got some stuff rolling. I just don't feel super confident in it, and I know I've picked Boston College against Missouri and stuff like that. I feel even more confident that Texas A&M is going to wipe the floor with them. They've got their Texas A&M's backup quarterback Marcel Reed just looks good. Like he looks confident and calm. If Elko is smart, he'll keep Wegman out. Wegman may be a good quarterback. He's just not. He just needs to leave Texas A&M. It's obviously a bad luck charm for him. So, but Marcel Reed, man, just electric. Like it's like OU finding Michael Hawkins. It's just it just works. Is he perfect? No, because he's young, but he's going to get a whole lot better. So,
agreed.
Anyways, so Dennis,
no. So my game of the week is actually going to be a rematch from last year's national championship, or I guess earlier this year's technically national championship versus Michigan and Washington. And
Washington, huh?
To kind of just start off, there's some bias I'm going to have with this one, but I'm actually going to have Washington here. Like I predict they're actually going to win it for a couple of reasons. Michigan, literally first away game they have had all season. And I'm like, oh wow, like that's convenient. Like, so, and a couple other things, the fact that the past 2 games they've literally had the same exact score, 27-24. I can't recall the last time I ever saw something like that. And their passing game, there's only going to, in this game, surprisingly enough, there's only going to be one quarterback actually playing this game. Like, that's it. And that's Will Rogers. Like, Washington, it's just as the only team that's going to have a quarterback. By all means, Michigan's going to have a running team. But I feel like Washington should have already figured out exactly the formations they're going to run, exactly what they're going to do. And, like, I'm still a little bit kind of, to be honest, a little bit hurt that Michigan beat USC. But then again, Trojans are only effective about 97-98% of the time. So not really surprised that they lost that one too. So I'm going here with Huskies actually going to pull the victory. They are the favorite by 2.5 points. ESPN saying 57.7 also in the matchup predictor. But I think it's going to be Washington's game to kind of take over. When Michigan played even last week, or sorry, excuse me, when Washington played last week with the Rutgers, they got rushed on 184 yards, and they were still able to pull off over 200 yards on their own, and be able to kind of they've lost only by 3 with that one, but that was also a away game all the way on the other side of the country. So the fact that with this particular game, Michigan was able to get stopped by Minnesota. When it comes to the running game, I think they had a little bit less than 200, if I can recall correctly. I'm actually having Washington be able to, not the strongest of running defenses, but being able to kind of pull out and get the W here. And I don't think it's going to be I don't see it being as close as it's going to be here with 2.5 points. I think it's actually going to be at least anywhere from a touchdown to 10 points, maybe even up to 14.
Sure. I can see that. I mean,
hey, all I keep thinking this year, watching Michigan play, is this offseason when we had Juck on talking Ohio State. I think I said that they were going to win by 2 touchdowns Ohio State was going to beat Michigan by 2 touchdowns, and I immediately regretted it. And we talked about how I was like, I don't know about that. I'm starting to get more confident that I was actually right.
I think you're still going to be wrong. I think it's going to be like 4 touchdowns.
It's going to be like 4, yeah.
Because again, Michigan. We lost Dennis. No more of his game of the week. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's the thing is Michigan. I mean they can't throw the ball.
Mm-mm.
Like you like arguably Ohio State. Once it finally gets to the point where Michigan and Ohio State are playing, Ohio State might be able to pull their secondary up front and just block him. Oh look, Dennis is back.
I'm back.
Anyways, so yeah, I think you're going to be wrong. I think it's going to be more than two touchdowns. If Ohio State continues to win, I've said this before. Like I said this before Ohio State played Michigan State. Like Ohio State, the thing that they lacked for me to just automatically just put them in a tier of an elite team for this year was the fact that he didn't have an elite win over a Power 4 school. I would argue that the way that they dominated Michigan State was an elite win. That is a Power 4 school. It is a conference rival to some degree, and they held that game very. It was never in doubt who was going to win that game. And so it's just like they're right now, until proven otherwise, they're very much in my elite status. Michigan ain't even sniffing elite status right now. They do not play like it. You almost lose to Minnesota, which is basically the Vanderbilt of right now of the Big Ten. I've got a feeling that Northwestern could beat Michigan if on the right day. So I don't know.
Agreed.
I agree with you, Dennis. I think this is going to be a great game, and I think Washington's going to run away with it.
Yep.
So, you have any more thoughts? Any more insights onto your game of the week?
No, I think I'm pretty confident with my pick.
Okay.
So I'm ready to for this weekend.
Fair enough. Yeah. Ready for this? Ready for week 6? I'm excited because my team gets to go to Fayetteville. The last 4 times. Fayetteville. Out of the previous 5 meetings, Tennessee's only won once against Arkansas. So they're not really a rival, but it is a nice revenge game. So I'm looking forward to that. Game's gonna be fun.
Well, and I want to give a shout out to Indiana, who is 5-0 for the first time since 1967.
Big deal.
So I want to give Signetti some props because man, he made a promise to change that football program, and I don't think anybody thought it would be this quick.
Yeah. I thought it was going to take like a season or two, at least one season. But the fact that he's able to show results, and to his credit, he brought about half of his team from JMU to Indiana. Mm-hmm. Now there's another coach who brought more than half of his team to their team, and did have nowhere near the same results.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they were not playing as in a conference that was as difficult. So, but yeah, it's so give Signetti some props, give Indiana some props. It's fun. It's fun to be a Hoosier, or it would be fun to be a Hoosier right now. They're in for some good times, and I think Signetti's the real deal. And hopefully he stays around there and does not jump ship for somewhere else. But we'll see. Yeah. But good on Indiana there.
That's right. It was a great hire for him. Mm-hmm. Well, again, thank you guys for joining tonight's tailgate. Comment below, like, share, and subscribe. Share this with your friend. But come back next week as we unpack week 6 and talk more college football.